I'm ready to talk Monday Night Raw, and this was the final Monday Night Raw before Survivor Series. Did the go-home show do its job? Well, let's talk about that right now.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my idol. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right. Monday Night Raw is the focus of this episode, as we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw that aired last night on November 15th. As I record this, it is a little after 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, November 16th, as if you care when I'm recording this, but I figured I'd do it because it sounds professional. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining me. This is the WWE Podcast, and a big week, obviously, as Survivor Series is this Sunday night. We've got preview shows coming up. Of course, the mailbag tomorrow night. We've got Mimi's AEW Dynamite review. And by the way, if you haven't checked out Mimi's full gear review show, it's Dynamite. See what I did there? So check that out on our feed, and a lot of other great stuff. Of course, Rivalries is coming on Friday, and Zach Smith's NXT review is going to be coming this week as well, probably tomorrow. So an absolutely jam-packed week, with Survivor Series being the ultimate destination on Sunday night, and then doing a review show Sunday night following the pay-per-view. So there's no rest for the weary here on the WWE Podcast. If you're a wrestling fan, a wrestling podcaster, these are the weeks that you need your sleep. But for those that are listeners, this is the gravy week. So that's you guys. That's where you come in. But first and foremost, speaking of listeners, I'd like to give a shout out to our latest patron over there on Patreon. It's Bradley. Bradley is now enjoying all of our shows 100% ad-free. All of those ads you hear about every 10, 11 minutes, and that is about when they go in terms of the increments. Then Bradley, you get to enjoy all of our shows without any of that, and just be able to hit play and sit back and not have to worry about skipping through or getting annoyed, because it's something that you now have access to. In addition, you have access to the Discord server that allows you to chat about wrestling at any time with anybody in the Patreon wrestling family. So that's another benefit for seriously pennies a day. So if you'd like to join Bradley, get on board. There are other tiers. Of course, if you even jump up one tier to the Raw tier, which is $10 a month, you get to come on the show once a month and do a show with me, co-host a show. So yeah, how about that? So if that doesn't entice you, I don't know what will. I mean, man, oh man, if that doesn't draw the money out of your pocket to be able to talk to me, then I just am out of ideas. Oh boy, you guys know I'm kidding, right? Okay. So I'm not kidding about the benefit, but I'm kidding about being that egotistical. I want to make that clear. All right. So let's talk about Monday Night Raw. That's where we're all here. That's the name of the show. So y'all are like, just get to it. Why'd you name that the show if you're not talking about it? Well, here we go. Okay. Monday Night Raw. Now here is, I guess, the old school mentality of pay-per-views, when they used to really be called pay-per-views, because I don't know if they really can be called that anymore. I believe they're still available for purchase on demand for like 40, 30, 40, 50, maybe in WrestleMania. I've seen it as high as like $70, $80. I think you can still do that through your local cable provider. I'm almost positive you still can. So technically, these are still pay-per-views. But my point is that on the go-home show for Raw and SmackDown, there used to be an expectation that fans would have. There used to be a standard that fans had where you knew that the go-home show would be an important show, a hot show, a boiling point show. You were anticipating that to be the case so that it would make you super excited for the pay-per-view coming up on Sunday. And over the years now, the last several years, this isn't just a phenomenon over the last week or month or even year. It's been many years now, where I have come on here and I've judged the go home show by what the old standard was, where did it get us hyped for the pay-per-view? Am I more excited about the pay-per-view going in than I am coming out of it, or rather coming out of it than going into it? And I think, unfortunately, we need to lower our standards now. And I'm not saying this is right. I'm not saying that we should be in a situation to do this, but if we are in the situation or in the mindset where go-home shows should be the absolute best that WWE has got to offer in terms of getting us excited about the pay-per-view, then I think we need to just take a step back. I'm saying, now again, I want to preface this by saying that should be the standard. We should not have to adjust our expectation. But it's been long enough now that, and I've complained about enough go-home shows being flat, even in go-home shows into WrestleMania that have been flat and even got me less excited about the pay-per-view. I think that they've finally done it. WWE has finally broken me, where go-home shows no longer mean what they used to mean, and they don't have the expectation with me anymore that they used to have. Again, I don't believe it's right. I don't believe we should change our expectation, but it's been so long now that I don't think that there's any reason to believe that the expectation, or rather the result, the execution on WWE's part is going to change. So, and this was actually this little, I don't know if you'd call it a rant, but I guess an epiphany. It came from somebody that emailed me. I think it was an email, and I apologize, whoever you are out there. I have so many different outlets in terms of ways people can get in touch with me. Twitter, wrestling_audio, or on TikTok. Actually, I'm on TikTok at the WWE Podcast, by the way. I'm putting up regular videos, slowly growing a viewership there. But whoever it was out there in the ether, somebody recently just said to me about the Go Home show, and thank you, whoever you are. I'm completely in agreement about the fact that the Go Home show here did not get me more excited about the pay-per-view. Now, that being said, Survivor Series, since they implemented the forced manufactured brand rivalry that literally means nothing and there's no consequences, as I've said many times, that doesn't help, right? And how can you build why would you even want to build a pay-per-view where you can't promote the matches until 2 weeks before the pay-per-view? Why would you want to have a pay-per-view that you're essentially saying is an exhibition throwaway and make it one of your big four? Why would you want to do that and supplant the existing rivalries that actually have the, look out, the word momentum? But they do. There are some rivalries that are interesting right now. And we have to kind of put them on the shelf, put them aside for this nonsensical red versus blue, which is all this is. And so that doesn't help with the excitement level with this with the Survivor Series format that has been forced for too many years now. There was a point where it was exciting and it was cool and fun, where Raw would invade SmackDown, SmackDown would invade Raw, and it would actually have some excitement to it. But as of late, it doesn't do it for me. Yes, we had the Usos this week. We'll get into the specifics there. But, outside of that, which, by the way, there was no explanation. There was no, they shouldn't be here. What are they doing here? There's no security. And in fact, they got rewarded by being put in a match by Sonya Deville. Now, if many of you listening may remember, I said I would excuse it if it means Big E gets beat down. And that is going to be the case here. And because I make the decisions, my opinion is the law and the law of the land. That said, in this instance, I will allow it because Big E got his ass kicked by the Usos. So I'm like, okay, I'll let it slide because seeing Big E get beat up is fun. Now, again, I don't enjoy the brand split being violated within a few weeks of the draft being implemented. But we all knew that would happen. We all knew that they could not hold out, and it's here we are, right? Like a month later, and they couldn't help themselves because Survivor Series is timed poorly with the draft. So anyway, let's get into some of the specifics here, and I do want to also mention Adam Pearce. So let me jump into Adam Pearce right now, and Sonya Deville and the whole WWE official role that's going on, which is just essentially another name for a general manager or a commissioner. We all know really what it is. They just changed the name and hope we don't notice, but it's the same. It is absolutely a general manager, a co-general manager position. That's what this is. They can call it an official. They can call it anything they want. They can call it a babysitter. I don't care if they call it, the Raw and SmackDown babysitters. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Changing the name doesn't change the functions of the title. And that's, to me, the most important thing. And how both of them were even chosen to be put in these places still has not been explained. And I know never, ever will be, especially Sonya. How or why that happened, we don't know. But both are evolving into heels pretty quickly. And for the longest time, when we had the heel general manager for, it seems like 10 years, it was in and out of a heel general manager, or even the general manager roles as a whole. I was over it. I think a lot of fans were over it. I had said that it was played out and we've seen too much of it and there's not much more to do with it, and that the show starts to become what's the general manager doing rather than what are the wrestlers doing? And it's just somehow gravitates towards the general manager heel role. Whenever there's a heel authority figure, that seems to be the focal point. And I was against that because it had been going on for so long, really since Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin. There have been many iterations of heel general managers or commissioners, whatever. And so now we're getting it back. And for a while, there's really no authority figure. There was nobody making matches. There was nothing. It was just wrestlers kind of on their own, deciding who to fight and when and how. And now we are getting Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, who have been on TV for quite a while now. Neutral figures, even babyface, evolved into neutral. And then now we're seeing the evolution of both of them into heels. And the reactions are playing that out from the fans. And it's warranted, I think, because I think both of these individuals are much better at playing heels than babyfaces. Adam Pearce, I said since day one, has a very, very heavy heel tendency and aura about him on camera. And he does. And I think him playing a babyface never really worked. Seeing Brock Lesnar flatten him was so much fun to watch. And Sonya Deville is also following suit. For whatever reason, there's nobody who is watching what these two are doing, or at least I don't know if the board of directors are asleep at the wheel, but eventually somebody's going to have to do something, because the abuse of power is now starting to become frequent and egregious on the shows. So somebody at some point, I'm sure, will bring in the board of directors, or hell, Vince McMahon himself, who, it's been a while. I'm sure Vince is getting the itch to get back on camera and have him, I don't know, fire them or bring in a proper general manager again. I'm not sure, or just, I don't know, vacate the position completely. I'm not sure how or what's going to happen there. Maybe he'll make Adam Pearce face Brock Lesnar in a match for his job. And maybe he'll do the same thing for Sonya and Naomi. I don't know. But either way, there is a clear now direction, a very clear direction that both of these guys and gals are in the heel category. And I think that's where they belong, because it makes you want to see someone defy them and beat them to a pulp. Now, instead of just these ambiguous figureheads, they're in a category that I can either love or hate. And right now they are in the hate category. So there's at least that. All right, let's get into a little bit more of what happened on Monday Night Raw. And a lot of what happened on Raw focused around Kevin Owens and having Big E come out to his lovely entrance music, which, just in case you weren't inspired for the day, maybe you're having a rough day, you're tired right now. Hell, maybe I've put some of you to sleep already, because that's what some of you do as I record these shows. So I'm really glad that I can be your sleep aid. But I'm about to wake you up. I'm going to wake you up in a very, very big way, because we have got one of the most energetic, most exciting, inspiring theme songs of all time. So brace yourself, everyone. I hope you're ready. Buckle up in 3, 2, 1.
We all want to go big, then say that. Ho! Yeah, boy, we doing big things, big belts, big rings, bigger than you ever seen.
Oh man, now you talk about just inspiring and it makes you want to just get up and run a mile and makes you want to just be productive and seize the day. Boy, there is nothing more exciting than when someone says to me, if you want to go big, then say that. Because I know for me, I don't go big until someone tells me to go big. They have to say it, right? I don't just do it. They have to say it for me to go big. So, in all fairness, I got to say, Indianapolis did give Big E a pretty warm welcome. It wasn't the level that you would expect from a WWE champion. Honestly, again, we're at the stage for Big E that the belt is trying to make him. He's not making the belt. He's not adding anything to the belt. There is this give and take with the championship. It's just this unseen force as fans that we can feel, whether someone's adding to the belt or the belt's trying to be added to them. Like, where's the energy flowing? And right now, Big E's not adding to that championship. I think the championship is attempting to add to him, and that's a completely backwards way. As everyone knows, I'm not a proponent of that. I know a lot of people are cool with that method. I'm not. I think it's completely asinine. But we all know my thoughts on Big E's character. In-ring, excellent talent. But Indianapolis gave him a nice warm welcome. And given it's also at the beginning of the show, so the crowd's the most fresh, they're just pumped, they're ready for Raw, you're going to get the loudest reaction at the beginning of the show. That's just the way it works, as the energy is at its highest at the beginning of the show. So if you want to maximize the response for Big E, of course you're going to have him come out right at the open. I got to say, I am at least proud of WWE, or maybe they simply forgot, and I'm probably going to be shooting myself in the foot if someone from creative listening, that Big E did not say welcome to Monday Night Raw. At least from what I heard, it did not sound like he said welcome to Raw, which is always a very good thing to hear. And then he said that he was going to get a piece of Roman Reigns for everything he had done to Woods and Xavier, attacking his family. And then he said he was turning his attention to Kevin Owens for what happened at the end of last week's Raw. And Owens came out to the entrance ramp and said that he did snap last week, but he was forced into it. And if perception is reality, he'll now be the bad guy everyone expects him to be. And he said he was going to come down to the ring and take care of Big E, and he didn't. He lied. But Big E is doing exactly what everyone thinks he is. I'm not sure how this is a Kevin Owens heel turn. I really don't. Nothing Kevin Owens said was wrong. Big E did deserve it. And I love how Kevin Owens is just owning it. He's like, fine. It's like, you guys don't want to trust me? I'll be that guy you can't trust. I think that's a great move. And honestly, I don't know how that's not a babyface thing to do. I mean, you're telling the truth by being the guy you want me to be. So it's the weirdest thing ever. And again, the Usos are on Raw. There was no explanation. And there was like a 20 multi-step process to open Monday Night Raw. What I mean by that is things evolved one right after the other, with Seth getting involved, RK Bro, the Usos, and it eventually morphed into the Usos and Seth Rollins versus Big E and RK Bro. That's how everything eventually boiled down, and the Usos and Seth defeated RK Bro after we got Jey Uso, or rather, I think it was Jimmy Uso getting essentially a roll-up on Riddle. That's what it was. Rollins got the win, not Jimmy Uso. Rollins got the win. And I think that was a good move, because Seth Rollins getting the victory here was the right thing to do. Seth Rollins is a guy that needs wins as much as possible. Seth Rollins needs to continue his, dare I say that word? You know what I'm going to say, but he does, because he's on such a roll. And I think that Seth Rollins getting the victory here was a good move by WWE. Again, the Usos being there makes no sense. And the build to Survivor Series has been absolute trash. I mean, there's no other way to put it. To quote The Crisis, this is all trash. The build to Survivor Series is just like your garbage can in your kitchen, wherever you keep it, in the garage. That's all that the build to Survivor Series has been. So, but again, Kevin Owens, I like what he's done, because it makes sense. Kevin Owens is the guy that you all thought he was. He says he's not, and he did not lie, but you want me to be that guy? I'll be that guy. So whose hand is really forcing whose? And so I don't know. I can't believe the WWE fans are going along with this and booing Kevin Owens and cheering Big E. It's really amazing. And I'm very interested to hear what the reaction is in a quote unquote hardcore audience come Survivor Series in Brooklyn in the Barclays Center. Very interested to hear. That will be a really fun litmus test to see exactly where the foundational fan base feels, or what they feel about Big E and the New Day and so forth. And very interested to hear that. Now, let's move on. We did get Bianca Belair defeating Tamina via pinfall. And that was kind of weird. Like, Tamina has now gone back on her schedule of showing up randomly, going away for long periods of time, showing back up randomly. She's back on her normal, regularly scheduled programming, if you will. And Bianca Belair defeated Tamina with a KOD. And that was, I mean, it was a fine match. Any match that Bianca Belair has is going to be at minimum a good match. And even with Tamina, who's not the most agile, nor should she be given her size, they did a nice job here. Bianca Belair showed her feat of strength. Doudrop stood on the stage afterwards and said that she said that after Survivor Series, you're going to have a target on your back to Bianca, which makes you also wonder, how is she going to be able to pull off a KOD on Doudrop? There's a hook for you. It's kind of like when Brock Lesnar back in 2003 or so, when he faced the Big Show, and people were wondering, could Brock Lesnar F5 the Big Show? Now, of course, Big Show and Doudrop, the weight difference is hundreds of pounds, but proportionally, it's about the same, I think, proportionally from Bianca to Doudrop as it was from Brock Lesnar to Big Show. I know somebody out there is going to say, you're body shaming Doudrop. No, I'm not. I'm just spitting facts here, guys. Doudrop's a big girl. And it's going to be fun to see if she can overcome Doudrop, which she will. But more importantly, I think hitting the KOD on Doudrop, people are going to lose their minds when they see that, I think. And it's just going to help further Bianca. Okay, we got Liv Morgan coming face-to-face with Becky Lynch after Lynch cut a promo about her match with Charlotte. And Liv, I think, held her own here. And again, she got in Becky Lynch's face, pissed off Becky pretty well. And then Becky went for the rock bottom or the manhandle slam. It reversed into like an arm drag. And Liv essentially said that I'm not going to wait much longer for my championship. Everybody has to look past Survivor Series to get back into their normal schedule, which again, really just begs the question, why are we doing Survivor Series anyway? It's an irrelevant pay-per-view. It's an unnecessary speed bump. It's like we're avoiding the pay-per-view for this alternate universe in which these two brands are having a rivalry. And again, it just makes absolutely no sense. So that said, Becky Lynch did come back with some pretty good spitball to Charlotte Flair, given what Charlotte Flair said about Becky. By the way, guys, TikTok plug at the WWE podcast on TikTok. I did a quick video regarding a tweet that Ric Flair put out in response to the Becky Lynch promo on Raw. Very interesting there. And just I'll leave it at that. So Becky Lynch did speak to her of evolution of a character. She said she did it for survival. And that slapping her across the face put her in another stratosphere, which is true. The slap heard round the world trying to turn Becky Lynch heel didn't happen. And, you know, honestly, is Becky Lynch even a heel? Like, what is Becky Lynch? Becky Lynch is this kind of quasi in between. People still cheer for her. She still has the same music. She's holding up the belts on all sides of the ring like she used to as a full-fledged babyface. And then she talks to Liv Morgan. She talks down to her and says that you haven't got a whole lot of wins lately, you know, which is true. Liv Morgan does not get many victories. And says that, you know, some people are cut out for it, some people aren't. And the crowd boos, but she says it's true. I wasn't here when Liv was losing. I wasn't here for that. That's not my fault. It's true. So what exactly is making Becky Lynch a heel? Why are we even entertaining the idea of having her not just be fully on one side or the other? Why does it have to be these kinds of shades of gray? Why muddy the waters? Why confuse people? Just pick a lane and stick to it. It seems like you've got about 90% in the babyface lane, and then she does these heel things that she gets boos for, but anytime her music hits, everything just gets reset and people forget. It's very bizarre with Becky Lynch, I have to say. But Liv Morgan got a nice warm reaction, and not looking up at the lights at the end of the interaction with Becky was a good thing. She held up the Raw Women's Championship. People cheered. But I don't think she's white hot where people are begging and frothing at the mouth to see her champion, Liv Morgan, that is. And I'm not ready for it either. As much as I want to see her continue to be built, that's what I want right now. I want to see her continue to get built. I don't need to see her climb the mountain and rush to it. There hasn't been enough of a story yet. They haven't told that story. Like, yes, she's been overlooked, right? I mean, many people believe that, and she hasn't been given an opportunity. But that doesn't mean you just rush into it when she gets it, that you just award her the championship. There's got to be that struggle. There's got to be that burning desire by fans, ideally, for her to capture that championship, and especially not just capture it, but take it away from whoever has it. And I don't think fans necessarily hate Becky Lynch as champion. I really don't think they do. I think they might be a little bit burned out of her carrying the championship. As Becky has pointed out many times, she's essentially been champion since WrestleMania 35. Take away the 1.5-year break, but it's true. So I don't know. I just don't feel that burning desire yet. I'm on the Liv Morgan train, but I'm not conducting it. Like, I'm just a passenger. So anyway, let's continue on here. But by the way, the remarks of Becky talked to Charlotte and gave back to her were really well done. And, she didn't hit some of the points that I would have hit because I'm better than she is that you could have said to Charlotte, look, yeah, I may have changed. And I said this on my show last night, but I think it's worth repeating because it's low hanging fruit here. I have evolved. That's called evolution, Charlotte. Something you know nothing about. You know nothing other than to take things from people, to essentially hijack your daddy's gimmick, to not evolve at all and continue to just call yourself the queen and everyone bow down to Charlotte. Why wouldn't she crap on Charlotte for not evolving? I don't know. But it was still well done. Okay, the Street Profits defeat Alpha Academy after Montez Ford rolled up Chad Gable. So there's your second roll-up of the night. I did not see this match simply because it wasn't on Hulu, but I did watch a few of the highlights, and it's what you thought it would be, and it made sense that the Street Profits won. I have no problem with that. Zelina Vega defeats Nikki ASH via pinfall after hitting Code Red. Absolutely zero issue with this because Zelina Vega, as queen, should continue to win. I don't know if it's setting up for an eventual championship run with her, perhaps, but right now she's living in the fantasy queen running the kingdom land, and extremely stereotypical, generic, but it fits her well and it's fine. Certainly better than what she was doing before. And defeating Nikki ASH, yes. I don't want Nikki ASH to win a match ever again. So I don't care who beats Nikki, who it is, but even better that it's Zelina. So no problems there either. Rhea Ripley defeats Carmella via pinfall after hitting Riptide. Ripley, this is according to CBS Sports, got some measure of revenge after her tag partner lost to Vega. That's true. So Rhea Ripley did defeat Carmella, but you know what? Who isn't beating Carmella these days? When is the last time Carmella even got a victory? It's been a while. She, for all of her accomplishments, and she does have a decent resume, believe it or not. People look back. I mean, she's a multi-time SmackDown Women's Champion. She it was a big part of the women's division for a while before she just kind of fell off a cliff. I don't know if I honestly don't know what's causing it. I don't. But Rhea Ripley defeating Carmella makes absolute sense. Rhea Ripley should beat Carmella. And Carmella is a kind of a lost little puppy right now. I'm not a Carmella hater, But what they've turned her into is a very superficial Divas era-esque character, very skin deep, literally. And that's, to me, a total regression. And it's like, why are we revisiting this? Why are we trying to bring this back? At least in my eyes, anyway, with Carmella and what she's trying to do with her character, or what WWE is trying to do with her character. Honestly, it's kind of sad, right? WWE looks at Carmella. They don't know what to do with her. So what do? They just look at her and go, she's pretty hot. How about we make her character all about that? How about we make her character all about how sexy she is? Why? I would have said to whoever's idea that was, is like, hey, isn't that what the women's revolution and evolution was fighting against? The very thing it was fighting against was objectifying women? No? I digress. Okay. Kevin Owens defeats Finn Balor via pinfall with a stunner. This might have been the match of the night. I think that this was exactly what Kevin Owens needed. And I hate to say that because I also like Finn Balor. And Finn Balor, since he lost as the Demon to Roman Reigns a few pay-per-views ago, has also just kind of fell into oblivion. And he lost to Kevin Owens here. No shame in losing Kevin Owens. I have no problem with who he lost to, and I have no problem that it was clean. I'm surprised that the stunner is still in his repertoire, considering if he's a heel, why would he do a fan favorite maneuver? But I'm cool with it. You know, fine. I do enjoy seeing the stunner. It's one of my favorite maneuvers of all time, not just because Austin had it and made it so famous and had a lot of awesome moments with it, but it's just a great wrestling move because you can do it on anybody. It's sudden, and it's sold multiple ways, and anybody can take it. And it's a safe maneuver as well. So I'm cool with Kevin Owens continuing with the stunner, and he beats Finn Balor via pinfall. That tells you that they are clearly trying to elevate Kevin Owens to a level where he is supposed to be believed as a threat to Big E. That's the story they're telling with KO right now. Is he's going to get some big victories. He's going to get some big victories over the next several weeks until the next pay-per-view, which in December is God knows what at this point, because I've heard rumors of it not being TLC and they might not have a pay-per-view. Maybe they're doing it on New Year's Eve. It's New Year's Revolution. We'll see. But it's going to be a while until the next pay-per-view. So they're going to continue on this road where KO continues to be a credible threat to Big E. KO is going to continue to look like a credible threat anyway. Ultimately, we know the solution, though. We know the outcome. We know the end game. KO is going to lose to Big E. End of story. But Seth Rollins is lurking around, so perhaps there's a triple threat of sorts where it's KO versus Big E versus Seth, and Seth ends up pinning KO to claim the WWE Championship, thereby protecting Big E by claiming he never took the pinfall. He wasn't involved in the decision, because just in case you guys don't know, it is breaking news. Triple threats do not provide an advantage to the champion. And the champion doesn't have to be involved in the decision to lose. I know that's shocking to the system, so I'll let that sit a minute so you can absorb it. But that is and are the rules of a triple threat. Now, again, this match is my fantasy matchup, my fantasy booking, my projection outward as to how Seth does capture the WWE Championship, because I think he will. It's not going to be by defeating Big E directly, because Big E right now is a protected commodity. Big E right now, they are clearly trying to build a wall around him where no one can beat him clean. And they've done a nice job, if you're a Big E fan, of giving him some credible victories. Not just this guy that cashed in opportunistically and he's a placeholder champion. So that's how I think he loses, is in a triple threat with KO versus Seth versus Big E in the following pay-per-view after Survivor Series. That's with KO taking the pinfall and Seth claiming the victory. All right, what else happened here? Omos and AJ defeat Ziggler and Robert Roode via pinfall. When Styles hit Roode with a phenomenal forearm, Omos dominated Ziggler and Roode before making the tag to let Styles finish the match off. So it's nice to see AJ Styles kind of back in the fray here. This was not on Hulu. So that tells you what they thought about this matchup, that it's just a random tag team division matchup that has no implications at all for anything. But Omos and AJ Styles are back as a unit. We'll see how long that lasts. I'm a big proponent of Omos going off on his own at this point and AJ Styles going off on his own at this point. I think both could benefit greatly by being on their own. And hopefully, I don't even know if I want to see a split in a matchup between these two, unless the objective is to turn AJ babyface. But we will have to see. As of this moment, though, it looks like AJ and Omos are back as a unit, competing as a tag team. We'll see how long that lasts. Survivor Series. After Survivor Series is when we get back to just kind of like normalcy. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, then we get the main event. I don't think anybody could have really guessed this main event. Bobby Lashley defeats Rey Mysterio via submission with the Hurt Lock. Now, I know that we saw multiple clips of Bobby Lashley destroying Dominic last week, which I got to say is just so much fun to watch. Puts me instantly in a good mood. And Rey Mysterio went to Adam Pearce and played his case that, why would you do that to my son and put Bobby Lashley in the ring with him? To which I would say to Dominic, or I'd say to Rey, hey, your son's in the WWE. Expect the unexpected. He's a competitor. Your son's a competitor. Are we supposed to just sing Kumbaya? Like, why would I not make any matchup that is a legal matchup in which two competitors are on the roster? Anyway, Rey Mysterio's playing that protective father, and Bobby, or rather Adam Pearce, makes it a match later in the night for Bobby versus Rey, seemingly as a punishment, knowing what is going to happen to Rey Mysterio. And Adam Pearce, again, it's the heel trend, and I'm cool with it. I'm really am okay with this because I think it fits Adam Pearce very nicely. And of course, Bobby Lashley does dominate here, but the other side story, Dominic and Rey Mysterio are apparently just back on the love train with one another, making out with each other, hugging each other, giving each other piggyback rides to the ring. It's nauseating. It's infuriating. It's childish. Pick your adjective. It's not my favorite. Is what I'm trying to say. I've never been a favorite of that or a fan of that. And I was hopeful, given the tension that was building a month or two ago, that they were building towards a Rey Mysterio-Dominic matchup. They seem to have put that on pause, on hold, or canceled that altogether. But I was hopeful it was going to continue. Maybe they will pick it back up and make it a WrestleMania match. Maybe that's the objective. Or maybe they just said, this isn't worth it. I hope not, because right now they are both boring as hell. God, they're boring. Even Rey Mysterio's boring. I got to say. He's a legend, and I respect him, and he's really good in the ring and still really good in the ring. But my God, is his character boring, and his son is a chip off the old block in terms of character. Just blasé. So, okay, at the end of this, though, that wasn't the end of Raw, because Adam Pearce, Mr. What did they call him? Scrap Daddy, I think was his name when he was a wrestler, ends up replacing Rey Mysterio in the matchup with none other than Austin Theory, who came out before Adam made the announcement and laid out Rey Mysterio and then took his selfies, and that's who replaced Rey Mysterio in that matchup, was none other than Austin Theory. I don't think anybody could have predicted that one. Oh, and just as some final kind of wrap-up thoughts here, I'm looking at my notes. When Big E had his matchup, Byron Saxton, who I got to say is probably the worst part of the commentary team. Byron Saxton is just such a kind of a tongue-in-cheek, can't ever take him seriously, platitude, just Mr. Corporate, who always has to hit the key buzzwords. And he says the same thing about every matchup. If you notice, he'll use the same phraseology like mind games. Everybody's playing mind games with everybody else. Apparently, that's just the strategy. And I'll say, if that's the strategy, that's the worst kept secret ever in the history of WWE. If indeed that is true, I don't know why he has to say that almost about everything, as everybody's playing mind games or getting in their head. Or how about no, they're just trying to beat their ass. Right? Like, can we simplify it here? Do you need to try to create that false narrative that they're trying to get into their head? How do you know that, Byron? How do you know that? Did they say that? Is that in the part of their promo? Was that their mission statement? Or are you just throwing out these empty platitudes because it's great corporate language and you're checking off the box? Is that what that is? I don't know. Byron Saxton is... I just can't take him seriously. I feel like without even seeing him, it's like he's got a sly smile on his face throughout the entire time he's commentating. Like you just want to punch him in the face. I don't know what it is. Something about Byron is... it has always been just off and not appealing to me. He was really terrible at first. He improved, and then he just kind of stayed at that okay level. And he has not really improved in a while. He's just been kind of flat. And I don't even like three-man booths to begin with. I think three-man booths are crowded. It's just color commentator and play-by-play. Why do we need to overcomplicate it with three people? I don't know. And I'm not saying Byron Saxton should be fired or anything like that. I think Byron Saxton would make an excellent manager. I think Byron Saxton would make an excellent manager. And kind of like in an MVP role. Where was MVP, by the way, this week? Where the hell was he? I'm picking out a new Kane? I don't know. But they had a graphic up for him, but MVP was not present. So Bobby Lashley's been cutting his own promos, which is cool to see. I'm fine. Bobby Lashley isn't he's not the silver-tongued devil, but he's adequate on the mic, I have to say. He's better than he used to be in WWE, and it doesn't seem like he's afraid of the microphone like he used to be either. So that's good, and it's forcing, with the absence of MVP, forcing Bobby Lashley to acquire that skill and to build that skill, develop it, of promos, because he's certainly got the look and the in-ring. There's no question about that. So, well, guys, that was Monday Night Raw in a nutshell. Again, not exactly a barn burner of a show, nor was it one that really made us inspired. But that's what I was going to say. I got off on my Byron Saxton rant. Byron said during the Big E match, as Big E's doing his hip swivel gyrations and just nonsense, Byron says, and I quote, "Big E is in fight mode now." What? So, Byron, you equate hip gyrations and placating to the crowd being in fight mode. Have you ever seen a real fight? Being in fight mode, you've got tunnel vision. You aren't being a showman. In fact, it's the exact opposite. So, Byron, it's comments like that. Like, he just says things because he thinks that it's adding, I guess, to the experience, adding to the viewership experience. I'm not sure, but what he says sometimes doesn't make sense. He just says these phrases like fight mode and getting in their head and mind games. He just has this like list of preset phrases, and it's almost like he doesn't need to be there. You just kind of pick and choose off of a soundboard, and you just hit the button, and you'll get the Byron Saxton commentary for the night. That's what it feels like to me. He's just got these preset phrases that he plugs and plays in with every single rivalry going on, and there's no tailoring his commentary to what's going on, or at least not in any kind of any kind of important way. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on him, but somebody's got to say it. Byron Saxton is, I think, a negative at the announce table. And I'm not advocating for him being fired. I think he'd be, even if he wanted to return to in-ring competition, if that was possible, like the rumors of Corey Graves, I think that would be fun. But him as commentator, it's a failed experiment. And that's okay. He's certainly got a role somewhere else. But I am probably speaking on deaf ears. And it's falling on deaf ears is the expression. So, well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here. That was a Monday Night Raw review. If I missed anything, I apologize. I tried to hit everything that I could. It's been a crazy household lately. I got a couple of sick kids, and right now it is after midnight as I speak. It's just very little sleep. And so if I missed something, I apologize, but doing my best. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Tomorrow's the mailbag. Don't forget, get your questions in. realwwepodcast@gmail.com. Submit your questions, rants, whatever it may be, to that email, or call us. Leave a voicemail at 518-952-0247. So thank you, everybody, so much for listening to the show. If you want to go on Patreon, get ad-free, you can do that. Search out the WWE Podcast on Patreon. Or you can go to Apple Podcasts and just subscribe right there. You get 7 days free, too, before you pay $2.99 a month. So you get to try us out for a full week there. Or, of course, you can just give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Great way to support the show as well. Thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.